Mandus here with Midwest Muscle Report. We're at the 2016 Continental. We just wrapped up one amazing show. If you've gone through and seen any of the interviews, there was more going on here than just a show. We had a serviceman come back and surprise his sister. We had a wedding proposal. We had star athletes coming here to guest pose that were just at the Olympia. We had a half a dozen IFBB pros roaming the halls. And oh, by the way, we had a show. And Jeff Johnson, the promoter of the show. Jeff, how do you think things went today?
This was a great show. All the competitors had a great time, and the judging was pretty tough because these shows are difficult to judge. And as we've mentioned before, we've got the top-notch judging staff in the country right here in our shows in Illinois. And that's why our shows turn out to be the best.
It's funny you say that because next to me on the left here, some of you don't know, is one of only 8 pro head judges who also happens to be the chairman here in Illinois and was the head judge of the show today. And when I say those things, it's because the panel, although it's a subjective sport, has to have a certain criteria, and it really stems from the person on my left coming down. Chuck, the competition was tough in a couple of those classes today. We did the play-by-play, and interestingly enough, I think we were pretty much right on with what you guys had ended up winning at almost every step of the way. That doesn't happen too often.
No, but you know what? Like Jeff just said, with a good panel, the right people win. And that's what we're all about. Nobody's ever perfect.
No.
But we try to be fair and get the right person to first place. Everything else is going to be subjective. Nobody's ever going to be 100% happy when they leave.
You can't.
You can't.
There's only one happy person, like you said.
That's what I always say.
And that's the winner.
Right.
Now, I think, though, this show was a little bit different. Again, Jeff, you had a lot of surprises. Again, we had a serviceman come home. We had a wedding proposal. All of it is on video. Guys, go on the website, check it out. There was a lot of things happening. Why did the two of you, whoever wants to lead, think that Illinois specifically leading the Midwest, but the Midwest and specifically Illinois are now producing so many top-notch athletes?
Well, Chuck and I have both been involved with the NPC pretty much since it's the beginning, over 30 years ago, Chuck. Chuck and I, we both competed for 15, 20 years. We've been on the judging panel. We're national judges. We're IFBB judges. So we know what's going on, and we've been involved in the sport as much as you can be. And that's why I think people flock to our shows here, because they know they're going to get a good look at it.
I just think that Illinois is an underrated state. You know what I mean? From all the way down south to, all the way up here to Rockford and everything. There's a lot of athletes here, and we encourage them to go elsewhere. You know what I mean? We don't tell them just to all stay in Illinois. We encourage them to go everywhere. Go out there and see what's there. And then come back and let us know what you think of our shows.
Chuck, I got to tell you, being a part of this sport for the last 10 years or so, and now having the chance for work to be able to travel the country and see what is going on all over the place, there's something to be said about the last few years. You had 2 athletes here from Illinois win the Arnold. You had 4 people at the Olympia, and they all did well. The numbers are starting to turn out in droves, and not only are there more people competing, you're having more athletes go from the regional level to the national level and do well. That wasn't always the case. Something's going on here.
Well, like I told Jeff today earlier, I said, Jeff, I didn't recognize a lot of these faces. So it's a lot of new people coming.
Yeah.
So, whether it's the popularity of the sport, popularity NPC, or, just good production, good shows, it's a combination of everything. It's not just me and Jeff, or it's not just you promoting this. Everybody's working together now.
Right.
I think that's the best way to put it. Everybody, instead of fighting each other for, you know, my show's the best, his show's the best, you know, you what you're doing here, we're all coming together as a family. And that's the most important part. And I think that shows with the way we treat our athletes at the shows. I think it's the way we respond to them, you know, when they want feedback and stuff like that. And you know, people can do whatever they want with the feedback, you know, and I tell everybody, listen, I'm not going to lie to you, I've been doing this for too long. And when I competed, I didn't always believe the judges either. But eventually it ended up, they were pretty right.
Right.
So we try to be as right as we can, and it seems like, you know, some of them are listening, and the ones that aren't, they'll eventually catch up, and everybody will do good.
You know, it's interesting you say you believe there's a lot more coming together in Illinois. Years ago, there was a lot of talk about people wanting to go out of state to compete, or people complaining and griping, and you always hear people, when they don't do as well as they expect, they always have a reason they want to point the finger. Jeff, there was over a half a dozen IFBB pros walking the hall of your show here. So not only did you have an extraordinary judging panel that people could go and ask questions and get feedback from, but they had professional athletes walking the halls that they got to talk to, get their story. And all those pros started on this stage or Chuck's stage.
That's exactly what I brought up at the introduction of the show is every one of these athletes, they started off on stages right here just like this. And I also said, you just watch, one of these winners of this show here is eventually going to turn pro, and mark my words, that will happen. We want to thank, you know, Jim Manion and the staff at the national office. They're the ones that expanded the sport and brought in, you know, men's physique and men's classic and women's figure. And I think that's what's opened up our sport so much more than just the bodybuilding days. There's more athletes involved because there's more opportunities for the athletes.
Those divisions are a little more obtainable, and someone may start in one division and eventually something else we're seeing a lot of, Chuck, where an athlete starts out as a bikini competitor or a men's physique competitor, and they move to figure, they move to classic physique, they move to bodybuilding. We've actually been talking about that because it is now very common that people cross over not only in the amateur levels anymore, but at the pro level.
Oh yeah, we have some of the pros, you know, that I know one in particular, nameless, was in figure and just competed a couple weeks ago in bikini. You know, so you have more options. You have, like you said, like Jeff said, you know, if you don't do good here and maybe there's a reason why, or you think you can do better here, you can go.
Absolutely.
Nobody's holding you back.
Absolutely.
You know, and hopefully you find where you're best at.
There you go. Well, guys, once again, a fantastic show here at the 2016 Continental. We're standing here with Jeff Johnson, Chuck Sanow. Chuck, the next show we have is going to be November 5th. It is now called The Gladiator.
Yes.
It was Mike Mazzarato last year, and for most of us, we've known it as Iron Man, and I still call it Iron Man every time. We have to remember to now call it The Gladiator. So we'll see all of you guys November 5th at Copernicus Center for The Gladiator.
Mandus, we also want to thank you and your staff and Midwest Muscle Report for your ability to promote our athletes and promote our sport. And I think things are only going to get bigger and better for us here in the Midwest.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the goal. Something that Chuck said, and we really are pushing unity, unity, unity. The East Coast has been running things for forever because they have a lot of great athletes and they stick together. Well, there's a new kid on the block, and it's the Midwest, especially Illinois. Mandus Buckle from Midwest Muscle Report. We're out.